You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Hop on YouTube, welcome to the hood table, where we chop up local and global events vocally. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, laugh a little, get that wine in your system, fill your glass a little. Expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know, these opinions might clash a little. They addicted to the content, got them binge watching. You don't like it, then you want invited. Bet your friends watching in the house and your job parking lot before you clocking. They don't wanna miss a second of this HT content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation, bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn you back and tell you sorry, try again. Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the hood table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Welcome to the hood table. Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Doing blessed, doing well. How you doing there?
Thank you for having me.
That's good.
This
Thank
evening,
you once again, Obie, for joining us tonight. I'm gonna let Carmel Diva start this off, but I just wanted to welcome you to the hood table. It's gonna be a great show, everybody. So make sure you like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the hood table if you're not already subscribed.
All right. Well, tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Obie Anthony, and he is the founder of Exonerated Nation. I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about himself a little bit, and then also go into what exactly is Exonerated Nation. So, Obie, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you both for having me here at the hood table. It's definitely an honor, in other words, to be at a table that's called the hood table.
Yeah,
right. Yes, as you said, my name is Obie Anthony. I am the founder and director of Exonerated Nation. Back in 1995, just to give a little bit of a backdrop about my story, back in 1995, I was charged and convicted for a murder robbery with 3 attempted murders, with 3 attempted robberies with special circumstances, in which I did not commit. I was subsequently sent off to prison. My feet hit the penitentiary grounds in January 1996. And I was there for 17 years before I was exonerated of that crime through the help of the Project for the Innocent and also the project of the Northern California Innocent Project.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you spent 17 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, I was 19 years old. I was 19 years old when my feet hit the feet in the penitentiary in California. And I don't know, it's like it was maybe like a few months after my 18th birthday. And so I was still very young, but nevertheless, being in that environment and going into that environment, never having been to that environment before, never having been incarcerated, camp, YA, youth authority, I mean, those things before, it was quite an adjustment for myself and having, really grew up quick.
Right, I'm sure.
And that happened in South LA, is that right?
Yes, it did. So it was the murder happened. It was a murder of an Hispanic guy that happened in South Los Angeles on 49th and Figueroa. Hispanic guy and his couple of his friends was going to go see a friend, meet this friend, as the story goes. And it was Hispanic guys. One of the Hispanic guys in the car had noticed the female outside of the vehicle and told his friends, "Hey, look, pull over. That's Mama Chica." He referred to her as. And so the guys pulled over. As they pulled over, the young man got out of the car, approached this building that was on the corner on 49th and Figueroa, walked up to the building, knocked on the door, tried to get the young lady to come out. Guys in the building told him, "Hey, look, she's busy. Come back, go away." As the guys walked away from the building, that's when everything went kind of crazy, went down right there. Two of the guys in the car that got shot up real bad, and the guy that was outside of the car that got shot one time in the back from an upwards to downward angles and came out on his left side. Honey died there on the scene.
Wow.
It was maybe about several months later. The detectives charged me with the crime, saying that they had witnesses that placed me at the scene of the crime. One of the witnesses that they allegedly had was a guy by the name of John Jones. And John Jones, they had, the detectives and the prosecution had pushed him off to be the manager of this building, but in actuality, he was the pimp that was running a brothel. The building in which they stopped at was a brothel that had been running since the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And so it was well established, had videotapes, had camera system in the building, had the whole little store thing. You can come in there and buy all the little stuff you need to do with the process, whatever you're doing. And so it was a really sophisticated spot. So, but they marshaled this guy off as being a manager when they brought him to the courtroom. But he was a pimp that ran this brothel for multiple years. And subsequently, after bringing him in, the guy told several different stories. He told stories, one, that he initially seen the crime. Then he changed that story, said he never saw that crime. That it was his wife called out to him, that she witnessed the crime. And then, another story behind that saying that neither one of them saw it, that in fact it was, maybe his daughters saw what was going on. So it was a whole lot of whirlwinds of different stories that was being told, but nevertheless, they still found me guilty. And also I had a co-defendant as well by the name of Reggie Cole, that also had gotten found guilty. He spent 16 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He's now since been exonerated as well.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that you had a co-defendant.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so, like I said, I've been home now since 2011. My exoneration happened in 2011. Mm-hmm. And his exoneration happened in 2010. And so we both now been going home now 9 and 10 years. And trying to find myself in a situation, in other words, to where I can stay in the helpline after being helped, after suffering in prison for 17 years, having a term of life without the possibility of parole plus 50 years, was thought of to be to die in prison. I was supposed to die in prison. I had life without the possibility of parole. They wasn't ever trying to let me come home. And so after coming home in 2011 and being helped, I just felt the necessary need, in other words, to stay in that helpline and help, and realize that that's the process of things, that help helps help and hurt hurts hurt. And that I stay in that helpline, that eventually that help us spill over to someone else, and that'll trickle down. And so I just wanted to be of a service like someone was for me.
Yes,
you definitely. I told Tanya, I said, after watching that story on YouTube, I said, this brother could have been extremely bitter, extremely pissed off, with, very justifiably so. But I said, instead, he chose to take that and turn it into a blessing for others and to help others. And I'm like, that is phenomenal. You really don't hear about that. And I said, this is something, you don't hear enough stories like this on the news. You hear all the negative, but you don't hear about stories like this. And this is empowering. And, I said, I have to, talk to him. We have to have him on the show. So I am just overjoyed that you are here. So,
yes, me too.
So tell us, okay, so what exactly is Exonerated Nation? What does your organization do?
Thank you. So Exonerated Nation is a national nonprofit that help guys and gals that have been framed and put in prison for crimes in which they didn't commit. And so once they have been exonerated, and I'll get into a little bit about what that means about exonerated, because when one says that they've been exonerated of the crime, oftentimes people are clueless as to what do you mean you've been, what's exonerated? And so that means to be proven innocent of something. In other words, that you have been previously charged with. That's the definition. And when they say, "Oh, you got cleared of the crime," I didn't clear, I got exonerated, because each word has its own specific definitions.
Right.
So sometimes you need to be mindful of the way, in other words, we converse and say things to individuals.
So there's a big difference there.
There's a major difference, right? There's a major difference. You say, "I got cleared," you think of some sort of technical, some technicality that transpired. When you talk to individuals about your exoneration, they understand then that you are an individual that was framed and put in prison for something you didn't do, and that ultimately that the truth came out, and that you received your vindication. You was proven innocent in those things.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Well, I got a question about the guy, the pimp, who said that he had saw you. I was like really tripping when I saw that. I'm like, they took the word of a pimp, but now I understand, because you saying that they had the cops, even though the establishment had been there all those years, they didn't know that he was a pimp and that was a brothel.
No, not at all. Yes, they did know that he was a pimp, and they did know he was a brothel. In fact,
he was probably paying them off.
Well, during the course of my exoneration, or during the course of my exoneration, through the reinvestigation aspect, my attorneys that had got me exonerated, they found out that in fact that the Los Angeles Police Department was utilizing the brothel. That in fact that that they had raided the building. They raided the building looking for minors, prostitutes and minors. And they came up out of there with like 45 tapes. They have 45 tapes. When we found out about it, once we got that information, they only turned over 3 tapes to us out of the 45.
Wow.
And so, later during the course of my reinvestigation to get me exonerated, we found out as to why that was. Because great possibility that they had the cops on some of those tapes. So
wow. Well, Carmel Diva, you was kind of right. The cops was getting something out of it. But
I knew. I'm like, so that ain't right. You know me. I'm always like, side-eyed and the hell lot of stuff like,
But what happens to people, Obie, like when people get exonerated and they was framed or set up or lied on? What does anything happen to the person like that Jones guy? Because he lied to like reduce his charge?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. So that's great question. Which is one of the sad parts of the whole thing, is because the true perpetrator of the crime has gotten away with that crime. And the victim's family of that crime, or those crimes, thought that I was the individuals because I was the one that was put in jail for that. Right. But then after I got exonerated of those things, then no reinvestigation of the case has been going on. The pimp of the brothel is now still pimping in Los Angeles. To this day, from my understanding, still pimping in Los Angeles. There has been no repercussions upon him for even false testimony or any of the above. And as a matter of fact, during the course of our investigation, we can absolutely show through evidence that him being a star witness was the one who actually killed the guy that died on the scene.
Really?
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. So they found out he lied on y'all, but he was the one who really did it.
Well, absolutely. Again, like it was a book. Let me show you 1 second.
Oh my goodness. And he's still out pimping. He's still out pimping.
Yeah. So it was a book that came out. I don't know if you can see it. You can see it like that. Killing Season Homicides in LA. It was a New York's best-selling book. It came out in, I think, 1996 or 1996, 1997, somewhere around in there. And you get a great depiction of the cast of character that Jones is, the cast of character that the detectives was or is in that situation, to become familiar and understand sort of, the extent that the extent that individuals in positions of power will go to when they want to be in greater power. And that's what happens here. Was a rush of judgment, tunnel eye. They had just straight tunnel vision, where they had evidence to indicate that I wasn't even at the crime, that I wasn't ever even there.
So that was what I was going to ask you, is how did they settle on you as a suspect? How did
you weren't even there? Yeah.
So yeah, good question. So like I said, so a few months had went by after the initial crime. So the crime happened March 1996, March 1994, excuse me. And I was arrested of this in July of 94. So same year. So a few months later. So what happened was the detective that was involved in the case, after trying to lead after lead, couldn't find anything. She supposedly had gotten an anonymous call saying that a baby Dave made a bad move on 49th, an anonymous caller, then hung up the phone. So she said what she did was she typed the name Baby Day into the game computer database to see if it pings anything. And she says that the name Baby Day pinged. It was a guy named Michael Miller that was incarcerated at the time with two other individuals, and so that's how she ended up getting my picture, and that's how she ended up getting. That's how I ended up getting put into the case.
Oh wow, that is something else. Now I know you had started this exoneration assistance program. How hard is it to get like I don't know if I want to call it your just due. Like, how do they calculate? How do they go about trying to determine what you are due, and how hard is it to get, payments for being locked up as an innocent person? Does it go by years? Does it go by like certain things that might have happened to people in prison?
Look at that handshake.
And that's why I'm glad you guys have me on the show, because it really is about the edification of that. Nothing. Well, as a matter of fact, in the state of Missouri, I don't even believe the state of Missouri even have a compensation packet in place. I think, as a matter of fact, they do have one, but you have to be cleared through DNA. In other words, in the state of Missouri, that's in the state of Missouri. Each state, out of all of so it's 33 states in the union that has a compensation packet in place. And out of those 33 states, they are not all equal at all. And it's not, and it only has to do with, in some places, like say, for instance, in North Carolina, they have a cap. No matter how much time you spend in jail, no matter how much time you spend in there wrongfully, $25,000. So even if you spent 30 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit, they capped off. That's all they do. In the state of Missouri, I don't know, I forget what the cap is here. But again, though, everyone is not that has been exonerated does not get compensated, and I think that is the biggest thing that individuals in the community need to be aware of, is because it's a continual fight. Even after individuals has been exonerated, they still have to go on years and years after that, fighting to get their innocent claim, to get their innocence back, their presumption of innocence back into their lap. In other words, for them to be compensated. And I think that the larger community just assumes that, oh, you was proven innocent. Oh, they gonna pay you. And I'm here to say, oh, no, that ain't the case. Oh, no, you got it all wrong. Oh, no, we need you guys to make that happen.
I thought that. I ain't gonna lie. I just
too.
thought that. And I didn't know. You said it's 33 states that do compensate.
Yeah.
And then so the other 17 or
that have no compensation packet in place whatsoever. And
wow.
So, and that's just compensation. That has nothing to do about re-entry services that one would need. So again, taking into consideration that an individual spends 25 years to 30 years in prison, period, and specifically for a crime in which they didn't commit, but then they're exonerated and come back to society. How are they able to learn? How can they get onto this chat? How do they know how to do this live interview with you guys? They are technologically behind. They're financially, economically, they're behind. Educationally, they're behind. They cannot go get an apartment. They have no rental history. They can't go get a job. They have no work history. After 10 years, I know in the state of California, I don't know about in the state of Missouri, but after 10 years, the Department of Motor Vehicles disposes of your identification if it's inactive, if it's have no activity. So you haven't gotten it renewed, you're not doing those things, in other words, enough to keep up on your ID, boom. Right. Your identification, they dispose of that. So for us, individuals that come home after 20 years, 30 years of being in prison for something we didn't do, we have to start off at ground zero. We have to get our birth certificate, get a social security card so that we can get an identification, so we can go get an ID card. And that takes months. And so it takes months to do that. And so and specifically in this current environment in which we're in, and it really takes a tremendous amount of time for an individual to accumulate those things. Only, in other words, to have an ID to get a room, right? You have to have an ID to get a room. You have to have, so without any of those things there, that individual is consequently is in the situation to have to depend on family members. But after 30 years, family members has been passed away, moved on, and so forth and so on. And so that may not even be an option, in other words. And so then what does that person do? Where did they go? How did they get help? And so that's why I started Exonerated Nation. That's why I do the work that I do, is because the public believes that everybody get compensated, and that's not the case. I can show you a picture. One second. Let me show you this picture.
Okay.
Now, while you do that, I do want to ask, because on the video you did have to explain, and I did not understand. There's a difference. There's a difference between like being exonerated and just being found not guilty.
Right. And again, like, I'm always, I'm big on words, and I don't like to play semantics. And I think that's what happens when it comes to the justice system. They use semantical words. In other words, that's why one law always compounds the other law, because of the way, in other words, they word it. And so when just because you hear exonerated, that doesn't mean that individual has been basically proven factually innocent or actually innocent of that crime. And so just because a person, and that in itself makes it tremendously difficult for an individual to get compensated, either on the state level or on a 1983 making a civil complaint.
And is that why some people who have these exonerated programs, they go by DNA?
Right.
Because you can be proven to be innocent, but they want to make sure you're really innocent. Is that?
No. So a lot of innocent projects, I think that's what you're referring to. The innocent projects do the innocent to get the individuals out. They know that that's a surefire way to get individuals to help them procure their freedom. But even in some cases, you have individuals that have come home on cleared on DNA and still are not compensated for whatever reasons. And so that's not a end all. Excuse me, that's not an end all, fix all, and it's done. And that's why I'm always out there about educating and to continue to fight. And so I wanted to show you this picture because, and I'm sure like the guy in the back, Mr. Willie Green, you ain't gonna be able to see him. But Raphael Madrigal is on here. You also have an honoree by the name of Zavion Johnson, Andrew Wilson, also Maurice Caldwell and Bill Richards. If I was to add up the years of individuals, just let me see quickly. Willie Green, 12, Andrew Wilson, 30, Zavion Johnson, 16, myself, 17, Maurice Caldwell, 20, Bill Richards, 12 years. Rafael Madrigal, 10 years.
Now, what was the name of the guy who went to jail for the murder with you?
Raphael.
Was that him?
Oh no.
No, the guy who was my co-defendant, his name is Reggie Cole.
Now, when he got out, was it basically the same thing that the pimp lied about you, so it automatically
Well, no,
got him out?
actually, it was in the reverse. Actually, that happened in the reverse. He got out before I got out. Yeah, he was exonerated before I was exonerated, and it was his attorney that he was working with, that was working with him, by the name of Christopher Fleur, that was able to, begin to start discovering information that was not given over to the defense at the time of our trial. Other information indicates that this guy, John Jones, had received a deal during the course of our trial. In other words, for him to be able, so he will testify. And so his lawyer was able to identify and get things, get some new information brought to the table. And because of it, his conviction got set to the side. And so because of it, it gave me a chance to be able to redress my case. So I reached out to the Innocence Project at that time, indicating that there was new evidence that showed that I didn't commit the crime. And they responded back several months later. In 2008, they took up my case.
That had to be like the best thing ever after 17 years.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, like, it's like being locked in the room, right? Being locked in the room, banging on the door. Everybody's outside there. You hear them out there doing their stuff. Everybody's walking past the door, and you're begging to get out of here because you're yelling like, I can't, you tell them that you lose it. The oxygen in the room is leaving. You can't, let me out. You banging, and everybody just keep going by until that one person stops and open the door and say, what's going on? You're so excited, right? You're so excited in the way that I oftentimes
somebody finally listened to you, like
right. Somebody heard.
Somebody finally heard you, right? In the way that I often describe that as, for me, it was it's like drowning in the water. I was drowning in the water, and out of nowhere, someone threw this buoy into the water, and I grabbed it, and it began, and they start pulling me out slowly but surely, because it took them 3.5 years. Took them 3.5 years to reinvestigate the case before I found myself back in front of the judge to redress the case. And so it was a patient process during the course of that, and it was a constant holding on to hope and doing the whole way, realizing and understanding that the power of the Creator was at work, the answering of the prayers was happening, all of those things was going on, and so it's just about, again, being patient. Hold on to the
and not giving up,
right.
and not giving up, and that hope that you got after the Innocence Project, got involved. That's basically what you're trying to do for other people. So let us know all about that, the program.
So the program, Exonerated Nation. So I'm really excited about it. So we help guys and gals after they come home. We help them we have a leadership development program. We also have our mission and our goal is holistic healing. And so we have a holistic healing program. We also help individuals get job placement, temporary job placement. We also help them with temporary housing. We connect them with housing services and individuals that can help them, in other words, when they first come home. We also do work in the policy. We are responsible for, in the state of California, for several bills being passed. One bill being in my name called Obie's Law. So it's an Obie's Law in the state of California now that helps individuals when they come home. And it's just recently, in 2019, a bill got passed and went into effect in 2020, which gave individuals, when they get exonerated, $5,000 upon release. So once they get exonerated, bam, they go $5,000 to help them with housing. And then it's up to 4 years of support. So they can go find a house, they can go buy a house. They can go rent a house. They can go rent a apartment. It'll pay for that, and then also they'll pay the rent for 4 years, up to 4 years of support. So they don't have to worry about rent. Only have to worry about is just maintaining your bills, the rent to be paid, and all of that. Boom.
That's available everywhere, or is that just?
So that's available for right now for exonerees that are exonerated from the state of California. However, that exoneree can move anywhere around the United States.
Okay.
And so they get exonerated in the state of California, and their family is all back here in Missouri. They can then travel here, find a place. They'll put the money down. State of California pay for that house or pay for the down payment on the house, and then pay for up to 4 years of support for that house. So.
Wow. And what's behind the Obie law? Is that part of it, or is that explain that to me?
Obie's law, which is AB 672. AB 672 connects guys and gals to at least, that was the first bill that got passed to help exonerees in the state of California. And that bill there connected individuals to at least to the same services that individuals that was coming home on probation and parole. Because at that point, individuals that was exonerated, we didn't get no gate money, we didn't get no bus ticket, we didn't get no help with nothing. It was just a door open and closed. That was it.
They normally, and I thought they at least give them like, I used to hear $100 and a bus pass.
No, yeah, like if you committed the crime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you committed the crime, yeah, they'll give you $100. They'll give you your gate money, give you your bus pass to do all of those things. You got a social worker, you got a probation officer, parole officer. They help you connect with all of that stuff. But when you get exonerated of crime, none of that's there. There was no programs there, and the reason why is because all states in their arrogancy said that this don't happen, that we don't put the wrong person in jail, we get the right guy, and so they thought not to put programs in place that would basically heal those individuals from that suffering which was placed upon them from that victimization. Again, I'm always the one that wants to change the conversation because
go ahead.
They victimized us, and as long as the states don't look at us as victims, those individuals will continue to have problems trying to get compensated from a victims compensation board within their state. Because they're not being identified as a victim. They've been identified as an exoneree. So, two totally different individuals.
Oh, wow. This is really enlightening. I was so wrong on so many different things. Like, really. Yeah. Really. So again, thank you for being here. Now some of the things I just want to reiterate, some of the things that your program, which you actually started this, you introduced the Exonerated Nation. You're like are you like the CEO,
He's the
president,
founder and CEO,
the founder and CEO?
Look, he not only a client, he the president.
Hey, we gotta make it known.
I am, and again, I have an established board. I have an established board, have an established board member, advisory board, have an administrator that's on board, and so I have a host of a lot of different support systems and other organizations that assist us to help exonerees across the United States. And we're also assisting individuals, returning citizens as well. And I call them returning citizens because that's what they are. And you're not this, I ain't calling them no parolee, you ain't, no convict, you ain't none of that. He's a returning citizen, she's a returning citizen. And it's about helping those guys and gals too, because some of those guys and gals, the reason why we decided to get into that space is because they still pursue their innocent claim. If they was in there claiming innocence, but they came home on parole or probation, and they still fighting to get their innocence, and they have no help, and so we want to be able to going to be able to assist them, introduce them to the community, help them, with the reintegration services, and so
Okay, well, that is so cool. I really do like what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about your sponsors. Like, I'm on your website right now because I wanted to make sure I get the contact information so that people can contact you. But as far as sponsors, it says become a sponsor. What kind of sponsors do y'all look for? Like, some is it just monetary, or is it like
No,
landlords,
no,
or
Time
is it
worthy.
like
I mean, like, we
employers?
look for sponsorship from everyone. I mean, like volunteer sponsorship for groups such
Okay.
as yourself. Um, Groups such as like you see on our website, individuals that sponsors Mojo, Haircuts Denise, Kaiser, K. McClain and Bernarski and Lit, which is a civil law firm. Mojo is an entertainment production group. Haircuts Denise is a hair group. In other words, that does hair and all of the stuff that women like. And so we have a host of different sponsors, and they support us in different ways.
Okay. All right. And
Wow.
do some of those sponsors include like maybe people are who willing to give people jobs, or like landlords, or are they like smaller organizations, or
Well, not now. We don't have any smaller groups like that, like landlords that's willing to give people, the apartment manager groups that have, they own all of these apartments and we're willing to do this. We're looking for those kind of individuals. We're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for more sponsors. We're looking for more support and for individuals to come in. And again, like I always say, like it's not for me. I I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm all right. I'm working to be all right. But I have a host of different exonerees that are struggling. That are struggling not only to reintegrate back into society, but also to reintegrate to the family unit. In other words, to get to be right back at home. And so I look for support in all areas, whether it's therapists that comes along, they want to be able to sponsor. Hey, look, I can just sponsor an exoneree 3 weeks of free therapy.
Or pastor or something like that.
Y'all mean something like that. And so we really keep our hands open and out for that and asking for help and assistance in those areas all of the time. So
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
Now, are
noticed
you
also oh, go ahead, Carmel. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask. God bless you.
Yeah,
Um,
bless
do you are you so like now this organization? Are you just based in California, or is this a nationwide thing? Do you have chapters across the nation? And also, go ahead.
yeah, so we are New York, not fairly new, 5 years old. However, we are a national nonprofit. We are a
Okay.
national nonprofit. We service exonerees all around the United States, wherever we can service them at. We have not yet established sister outlets in different states. We have had conversations with different individuals or different groups in different states that want to, create that partnership or create that base in these different states to facilitate that work. And so we're really looking into that now. And again, like I said, we're really young, and it really for me it's about process. And because again, I need to get it right for them,
Right.
because they need the help the most, and so I have to do the process, the way it has to, sort of kind of the correct way. And so right now we have no sister outlets, but we still reach out. I was mentioning earlier about we do convenings too as well. We also do convenings. Right now, we've been having a host of online convenings as of late. But before that, we just had a retreat in Sonoma County, California, where we had about 37 different exonerees from around the United States
Wow.
that we brought in. Where we had a financial literacy course. We also had a legislative literacy, and we also have health and wholeness. In other words, talking about the foods and different things that we put in our bodies and so forth and so on. And also we also did a little healing circles. We had a healing circle too. So
Wow. Now,
well, I see here. Oh, go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention real quick on your website. It has said on here that I don't know if everybody can see it. Let me know if I need to bring it up a little bigger. But on the website, it said like 13.6 years is approximately the amount of time that innocent people spend in prison.
correct. Before that's before their exoneration comes up. And so it's like 13, 14 years ago by, again, even in my case, you'll see 14 years have went by before some action, before my claim of innocence was able to get it taken. Somebody was taking a look at it. And sometimes it's even longer than that. That's the average base. You have to look at individuals like from Louisiana, Albert Woodfox spent 43 years in Angola in the hold. So you imagine before his exoneration, you had individuals that was fighting for him and all of the above. But it takes an extremely long time before your exoneration comes up, and it's still a long process before the actual exoneration happens.
Wow.
Oh my God. So are you do you or are you willing to now work with the legal system to help the people, say like if they were down here in Tecumseh, are you willing to work with the Nebraska State parole board to help an exoneree? You're going to work with them and say, okay, I'll help them to get reacclimated back into society? Or is it a kind of, they got to come and find you kind of thing?
No. So what happens is that so when an individual get exonerated, that would happen most of the times is that either the Innocent Project that got them exonerated, or the lawyers that got them exonerated, they become familiar. They'll reach out to me that way. I'll get contact that way. Hey, look, we have a recent exoneree, a guy that's possibly going to get out. Is there, is there any services that you could possibly help him with in our area? Or is there any contacts that, in other words, you can put him in contact with in our area? And so I get notified that way, or just by way of the news and individuals reaching out, or because they've heard of Exonerated Nation, or they know about me and my story, and they heard of me and the work that I'm doing, and they reach out. So.
And as far as when you did get out and when you did get exonerated, you were compensated, right, for the amount of time that you were in jail? Do you want to?
No. That's again, because I heard you say for the amount of time.
Right. Okay.
For the amount of time that I was in, absolutely.
So it's just like one flat rate, regardless how long you've been in there.
We wish. I know almost it's 3,000, almost 3,000 individuals in the United States that's been exonerated. And maybe 1% of those individuals has gotten compensated.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Take that into consideration. And then on top of that, again, it is they never give you, it's not give you anything. You never get compensated for the time you spend in there, not at all. I think, when one family will say, well, damn, that brother spent 17 years in there. They should give him $17 million for the time he spent in there. They should give him this amount for the pain and suffering.
That's how I feel.
Yeah,
right.
But that's only if that was the way the court felt.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'll make it a whole lot. It'll make it a just system in respect to how they deal with it that they were put in prison for stuff they didn't do. So,
let me ask you this: when people do get compensated, no matter how much they get compensated, do they make you file taxes on that money?
Some yes, some Some states do. Some states do. Some states do. Some states.
Hell no!
Your money's
I'm just thinking that would be like
hell no.
So wrong.
It's not. Some states don't have where it's not tax deductible. Some states have it where they take a large percentage out of it beforehand. And then you still have all of the cost of the lawyers. You have to, it's not a windfall. I think that's what the community, a lot of the society thinks that, a person, they come home after a wrongful conviction or being framed, that they come into this windfall of monies when they get compensated. But It's not a windfall. It's not a lottery. that person, that guy or gal, actually worked for how many ever years it was, every single day of their life to survive in that place, to whether not to get killed, to fight to try to come home, to try to get something to basically survive in there. Toothpaste, just the cosmetical thing. Every day is a struggle in there. And so it's not a windfall, and they never pay you. So even if you look at it this way, even if you worked 8 hours a day for 20 years and you got a civil complaint and they gave you $5 million, that doesn't add up.
No.
That does not add up. They can never do anything to add up. In other words, to compensate a person for taking 17, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 12 years because of the damage that is done, the life that is lost in the process of that. It's just so much that goes on. And so there can never be a just compensation.
I'm so glad you cleared that up, because I know, and I don't know if your story will ever become a story, but sometimes they do.
It should.
But you know,
It
I'm glad you cleared that up, because people are under the impression that, especially if like heinous things are done to improve, like for example, the Brooklyn Five. Like, man, after we covered that,
the
Central Park Five.
Yeah.
I was like,
that, and I'm like, when we covered that story and then we saw the movie, and I'm like, oh man, all the money they get should be. I'm like Medea on that movie with the calculator. Like, I was always under the impression that it was like some kind of subsequent order or some kind of calculation or.
Yeah,
I really was.
You should run for office, and then
I'm so serious, because so many people get different amounts. So I just figured that it was.
Nah, those things, it's never no till or no sort of kind of silver spoon as to what an individual get or not get. Okay. Where you may have, even where you have co-defendants that are convicted of or wrongfully convicted of a crime, and they get exonerated, they're not even getting the same amount.
Okay.
And so also it's not, however they may be compensated, and you have, there's 3 different avenues that is represented to an individual to be compensated after coming home from being framed for something they didn't do. One, they can go through the Victims Compensation Board within their state to get compensated through the state. They can do a 1983 civil complaint and sue the city or the county, and try to get some sort of kind of compensation that way. But I'll tell you this again, getting back to the percent of individuals that get compensated, really 1 down to 1 percentile low, 2 percentile area, is because they lose when they lose the fight during the course of the civil complaint, so they never get compensated. Again, like I say, I really wanted you guys to see this. Let me see if I can. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can see it. Well, hold on. Let me put you on the screen by yourself. Hold on.
All right. Okay, yeah, because I don't want the gloss to be there. But if you see, right, so you see myself right here, or over here, on the other side. Next to me, Zavion Johnson. But you see, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals out of the 7 people, all of which have been framed and spent time in prison for crimes they didn't commit. Going to 30 years from Andrew Wilson, way in the back with the gray beard, over to Maurice Carwell with the black jacket and the gray hoodie on, 20 years. And out of all of us that sit there and all of those individuals, only the one person out of the group had been compensated. So you can only imagine this in a larger group setting around the United States. And so, that's why I'm always out there about letting people know that that's not the case. At least 2 of those individuals on there lost their civil complaint. So they're not going to get compensated. They're not going to get anything for being framed and put in prison. They have to work and find out a job and try to figure out.
That is horrible.
I mean, I guess you're right. And,
And that's what makes what you do so much more important.
Right.
And
right.
all the people who sponsor you and help you and assist you. Wow.
Now, how can the everyday citizen help you? Do you have like a cash app? Do
Well, I
they
think I saw
mail
something
in?
on his website.
Like, no. So I mean, like, the everyday citizen definitely, please, but I mean, like, donate. I mean, like, $2, $5, $10. That helps a tremendous amount. And again, you guys, they can go straight to our website, exoneratednation.org. They can go there, click the link. They can donate. They can come. They can subscribe also to us. They can also become a sponsor. They can also get on there to tell, put a story. They may know of individuals that have been in prison for something they didn't do, or they may be an individual that spent time in prison for something they didn't do.
Right.
So I definitely employ people, in other words, to explore our website. I sought to try to make it as simplistic as possible because of the community that I deal with, having no sort of being sort of behind the gun when it comes to technology. So I want it to be smooth and easy. So please go check it out. Dive through there, have fun. Definitely look at the stories that's on there. Please look at the stories on there. I think they're very empowering and very informative in respect to the plight that exonerees go through. That one video that's at the top up there that you see, that's from the retreat that I was talking about. From the Sonoma County. So.
Oh wow. Well, I did put the link in the chat, but I'm also going to pin the link and any contact information that you have besides the phone number on there. If you want to what your email or anything like that, please give it to Keontae Carmel Diva, and she will give it to me so I can pin it to the video. And I'm going to put the link to, so if anybody wants to sponsor, if anybody wants to donate, if anybody knows somebody who needs help, who's been exonerated, from prison, please contact Obie and his organization. I really, really love what you guys are doing, and I appreciate it. Because you didn't have to do it. You didn't have to do it.
You really
as hard
didn't.
as it is to get compensated or to go through what you went through, and then to come out and, like Carmel Diva said, you could have came out bitter. I'm just trying to do me, live my life, spend my little compensation money. You know what I mean?
Right. Be angry and all of that, but instead he took his trial and turned it into a tribulation, and turned his blessing into many blessings for other people. And I mean, you really don't know how much that story touched me. Just knowing that, even though you've been hurt, you're going through pain, you're still trying to get through it yourself, but you're reaching out to help your fellow man. And that says a lot. That says a lot about you as a person.
Yeah, because literally, like, you got out in 11 and you started this, like, literally, it's like, yeah. So.
And nonstop. I mean, like, the way I put it is always this: is that I do the work that I do because it's a necessary need.
It is.
It's a necessary need for the work to be done.
It really is.
And I didn't dream. I told my sister I didn't study this in prison. I didn't study to be a director of a national nonprofit. I studied how to keep myself safe and how to get out of jail and try to find something to eat. That was it.
How to mind your own business.
On my perimeter. And so, now to come home to do the work that I'm doing now, I'm really excited about it. It's really motivating, and it's always creative, right? It keeps me in my creative space and give me an opportunity, in other words, like I said in the beginning, to help.
Oh, awesome. Well, if there is anything that we can do, make sure you feel free to reach out to Keontae Carmel Diva or to I myself. Again, I'm going to put all your contact information, pin it to the video in the description box. Is there any last words you want to say for either if it's
I just wanted to mention to him Ernest. I wanted to mention Ernest's story to him.
That's right.
I wanted to mention. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell him about
Ernest. Before that, then the only thing I want to say is this: is that one of the things that I like to get out there and advocate and talk about is really the family members as well in the spouses and girlfriends that spouses that are in relationships with exonerees. Because like my wife always say, I'm just a different person. I'm not, she's like, if I didn't know y'all, I wouldn't be able to deal with none of this stuff. And I understand that. And the way I say, look, because, growing up in prison, having male to male conversation for 17 years of my life, it has been very difficult to transition to having a male to female conversation, and to, in other words, that compromising, soft tone kind of conversational piece. Because for 17 years of my life, it was all, this mine's, what's up with this? It was all dictatorial. So it was all pointing. It was no soft spots in it. It was all that. And so it's, and so I'm always mindful of that. And I'm always talking to, and I'm always bringing it up because family members need that same assistance as well to help receive the exoneree back into the family unit, because they are everybody's strangers now. Specifically for the exoneree that family member, they have that kind of support from the family. And then for the exoneree that comes home and they have girlfriends and spouses, it's so that they can have an understanding, communicate with the other exonerees and the other spouses that were exonerees, so they can know that they're not doing and dealing with the things that they're dealing with on their own. That there is a community out there that understands exactly what's transpiring and is there, in other words, to help you through it and the person through it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Keontae wanted me to tell you about another guy by the name of Ernest
Jackson.
I don't know if you heard about him. You're in Missouri, so you're not that too far from us. But there's a guy here by the name of Ernest Jackson who, let me know what you think about this. Just your opinion.
Yeah.
He was involved in a situation where him and some friends were charged with murder, like years ago, about 20 years ago. And come to find out, he went to court first, went to trial first. They found him guilty. But then when several other of his friends went to court next, they confessed to shooting the guy 17 times in self-defense. So they were released on self-defense. But that first person who was charged with murder, they wouldn't release him, and they made him serve that whole 20-year sentence.
He's still there.
He's still in jail trying to get out, even though somebody else confessed to the murder.
What state is this again? Where is this at?
This is here in Omaha,
Nebraska.
It's in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes. And then not only did they make him serve all that time, but they re-sentenced him just a little while ago for 60 to 80 years because they claimed they couldn't sentence him to life because he went in at like under 18 years old.
That's a juvenile.
Right. So after he did that first 20, they re-sentenced him to 60 to 80, but then they gave him like 6,000 something days of good time. So they're giving him 13 to 16 more years, even though somebody else confessed 20 years ago.
He was like 2 months shy of his 18th birthday, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And so they went back and they redid that law where
juvenile. In other words, if he was a juvenile,
I think it was 2012. They said that if
a juvenile could be sentenced, so then that's
if they were
went back.
sentenced as a minor, they couldn't be sentenced to life.
Now, do you think that is like crazy story? I mean, after hearing that story,
sounds crazy. I'm pretty sure. I mean, but for a couple of different reasons. One, specifically because we had guys, they was all going to trial. Apparently he didn't plead. He went to trial with it. The other ones confessed at the trial. They did it. But yeah, I don't understand how that happened, how they even found him guilty and then on top of that, for them to then, with that done, then to call him back down, apparently just recently because the law changed, to re-sentence him up under the new law. so that it, you know what I mean, and then give him a little credit for the time he's been in there. But that's nothing. It's like, yeah, it sounds like it's some crazy stuff going on. Nebraska, is it an innocent project? I don't think it's no. Nebraska does not have an innocent project out there.
Man, Nebraska. I don't think that we do have I don't think we do have an innocent project here. But a lot of people in our community is fighting and petitioning and rallying and, you know, for this man. But I just want to get your opinion on it.
I mean, like, yeah, definitely. For me, it's only thing I hear in there is that one, when he went to trial, they found him guilty.
I think so.
Before his co-defendants did what they did, or was it simultaneous? So it's like, but whatever the case is, the judge that was involved in there should have gotten things way cleared up for as the record was concerned, before it even went off to, for you know. So yeah, that sounds fishy, but
yeah,
something's going on with that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. But yeah, again, I want to thank you for coming on to our show tonight. Carmel Diva, thank you for introducing him to the hood table and reaching out to him, because I want to say, first of all, I'm so glad that you were released, and not just released, but exonerated after 17 years in prison. And that they did find out who really did the murder, even though he's still walking around pimping. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Pimping. But you know, God don't like ugly, so we're gonna let God handle that one. Right. But again, you guys, please thank Obie Anthony for coming on to the hood table tonight. I'm gonna put all your information for your.
And I mean, didn't the one who didn't Cooper Ryder even admit to
I think she's having some issues with her
internet.
She's coming in way late. So somebody said their cousin Kendra Scott with Xander with the help of Innocent Project in Michigan. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
We need these programs. We really, really do. So it's a good thing that you do. Exonerated Nation, thank you for your services. Really. No problem. And again, keep us posted if you ever need anything, ever need us to promote anything for you, or to help put the word out on anything for you, okay?
I really appreciate your help. Keep doing the good work.
Thank you so much. And you do the same. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Yes, thank you, Obie Anthony. Yes, that was awesome speaking to him tonight. I could not wait to speak to him, because this man has been through a lot, like a lot of people who go to prison as innocent people, and nobody believes them. Nobody takes their word. People who aren't even at the scene of crimes getting locked up, like the guy Ernest Jackson here in Omaha that we were just talking about, who we did a story on last week. So I'm going to pin all his information into the description box. So if you know anybody who needs help, who has been exonerated, who's getting released, you know how it is. They get out, they get no money, they barely get a bus pass. You know, they don't get no vouchers, they don't get no housing, they don't send them to no job when they get out. So if y'all know anybody who needs that type of assistance, please let me know. Inbox me, DM me, or just check the description box under the video, because I'm going to have all that contact information in there for you. Carmel Diva, I don't know what's wrong with your connection, but it's like delayed. But so now after this wraps up, you guys.
I know it's horrible. I know.
I don't know, but you might want to have to restart your phone, because I'm going to finish this live and we're going to come back, because there has been some breaking news with a case here in Omaha, Nebraska that we have been discussing and reporting on. And I'm literally going to stop this live. We're going to go run to the restroom, fix me a drink, and we're going to come right back to let y'all know this breaking news that's been going on in our community, okay? Thank you, Edward. He said solid interview. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, you guys, make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the Hood Table if you're not already subscribed, and meet us back here in a few minutes, okay?